Among history's most remarkable figures, Elizabeth II was born on the 21st of April 1926 in Mayfair, London, England. She was the first child of Prince Albert, Duke of York, who later became King George VI, and Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, who became Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother. Elizabeth was given the full name Elizabeth Alexandra Mary. She was baptized in the private chapel of Buckingham Palace on the 29th of May and was affectionately called Lilibet by her family. Elizabeth's early years were spent mainly in London and Windsor. She was educated at home, learning subjects such as history, language, literature, and music. Her governess, Marion Crawford, described her as responsible and orderly. Even as a young child, Elizabeth showed signs of leadership and strength, with famous figures like Winston Churchill noting her remarkable character. At birth, Elizabeth was third in line to the throne, behind her uncle Edward, Prince of Wales, and her father. However, this changed when Edward became King Edward VIII in 1936, but later abdicated the throne to marry Wallis Simpson. After his abdication, Elizabeth's father became King George VI, and Elizabeth became the heir presumptive, as she had no brothers. During World War II, Elizabeth began to take on public duties, including serving in the Auxiliary Territorial Service, where she trained as a driver and mechanic. Despite the dangers of the war, she stayed in Britain while many children were evacuated. She made her first radio broadcast in 1940, encouraging children affected by the war to stay strong. This early part of her life shaped Elizabeth's sense of duty and prepared her for the long reign that lay ahead. In 1947, Elizabeth II married Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark. Before the wedding, Philip gave up his Greek and Danish titles and converted to Anglicanism, adopting the surname Mountbatten. Their wedding took place on the 20th of November at Westminster Abbey. Because Britain was still recovering from World War II, Elizabeth needed ration coupons to buy the material for her wedding gown, which was designed by Norman Hartnell. The marriage faced some controversy at first because Philip was foreign-born and had family connections to German nobility, with Nazi ties. Elizabeth's mother was initially hesitant, but later described Philip as an English gentleman. Despite these concerns, their marriage lasted for more than 70 years, until Philip's death in 2021. Elizabeth and Philip had 4 children: Charles, born in 1948, Anne, born in 1950, Andrew, born in 1960, and Edward, born in 1964. Their family life included residences such as Clarence House in London, and for some time, a home in Malta, while Philip served in the Royal Navy. Elizabeth balanced her royal duties with family life, often standing in for her father at public events during his declining health. As her children grew, she managed both her role as a mother and her responsibilities as heir to the throne. The close bond between Elizabeth and Philip provided her with strength and support throughout her reign. Their marriage was marked by devotion, and Philip was known as Elizabeth's strength and stay. Together, they faced the challenges of royal life, public scrutiny, and the changing times with unity and commitment. Elizabeth II became queen on the 6th of February, 1952, following the death of her father, King George VI. At only 25 years old, she suddenly found herself the monarch of 7 independent countries, including the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Pakistan, and Ceylon. She also became the head of the Commonwealth, a group of countries that once formed part of the British Empire. Her accession came while she and Prince Philip were on a tour in Kenya. The news of her father's death was brought to her at their home, Sagana Lodge. Elizabeth chose to keep her regnal name as Elizabeth II, even though some Scots were unhappy because she was the first Queen Elizabeth to rule over Scotland. The coronation ceremony took place on the 2nd of June, 1953, at Westminster Abbey. It was the first coronation to be televised, allowing millions of people to witness the historic event. Elizabeth's coronation gown was specially embroidered with floral symbols representing the different countries of the Commonwealth. As queen, Elizabeth faced the challenge of leading a changing empire, with many colonies moving toward independence. She made many state visits and tours to strengthen her relationships with the Commonwealth nations. Her coronation marked the beginning of what would become the longest reign of any British monarch in history, spanning over 70 years. After becoming queen, Elizabeth II faced many challenges during the early years of her reign. The British Empire was transforming into the Commonwealth of Nations, with many countries gaining independence. She was the head of multiple independent states, and her role was to unite them through the Commonwealth. In 1953, Elizabeth and Prince Philip began a 7-month world tour, visiting 13 countries and traveling over 40,000 miles by land, sea, and air. This was the first time a reigning British monarch had visited countries like Australia and New Zealand. Huge crowds came to see her, with nearly 3/4 of Australia's population estimated to have witnessed her visit. During this time, the Queen made hundreds of state visits and tours across the Commonwealth. She worked hard to maintain close ties with her realms, even as political changes swept through many nations. Elizabeth was served by more than 170 prime ministers during her reign, showing the breadth of her influence. One major event during her early reign was the Suez Crisis in 1956, when Britain and France invaded Egypt to control the Suez Canal. Elizabeth was said to be against the invasion, but her government went ahead anyway. This crisis led to political upheaval in Britain and showed the limits of British power after the empire's decline. Despite these challenges, Elizabeth remained a symbol of unity for the Commonwealth and worked to adapt the monarchy to the changing world. During Elizabeth II's reign, the political landscape of the United Kingdom and her realms changed greatly. One major challenge was handling the resignations and appointments of prime ministers. After the Suez Crisis in 1956, the Conservative Prime Minister, Anthony Eden, resigned. Elizabeth had to choose his successor, and after consulting senior politicians, she appointed Harold Macmillan. Macmillan's resignation in 1963 led Elizabeth to appoint Alec Douglas Home, a choice that faced some criticism. Later, in 1965, the Conservative Party created a formal system to elect leaders, reducing the Queen's direct involvement in political decisions. Elizabeth also witnessed decolonization as many African and Caribbean countries gained independence. During the 1960s and 70s, Britain joined the European Economic Community, now the European Union, in 1973, signaling a new direction in foreign relations. One difficult moment was the response to the Aberfan disaster in 1966, where a coal tip collapsed and killed over 100 children and adults. Elizabeth delayed her visit to the village, a decision she later regretted. Another major event was the Australian constitutional crisis in 1975. The Australian Prime Minister, Gough Whitlam, was dismissed by the Governor-General, leading to debates about the Queen's role in political matters. Elizabeth chose not to interfere, respecting the Australian Constitution. Throughout these political reforms and crises, Elizabeth worked to maintain the stability of the monarchy while adapting to the shifting political environment in her realms. The years from the 1980s into the 1990s were full of challenges for Elizabeth II and the royal family. In 1981, during the Trooping the Colour ceremony, shots were fired at the Queen while she rode her horse Burmese in London. Thankfully, the shots were blanks, and Elizabeth's calmness was praised. In 1992, Elizabeth called the year her Annus Horribilis, meaning horrible year. Many personal and public troubles hit the royal family. Her children faced marital problems. Prince Andrew separated from his wife Sarah, and Princess Anne divorced her husband. That same year, Windsor Castle, one of the Queen's residences, was badly damaged by a fire. The Queen also faced criticism for how the royal family handled the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, in 1997. Elizabeth was on holiday when Diana died in a car crash in Paris. The royal family stayed at Balmoral Castle to protect Diana's sons, but the public was upset by the silence and the decision not to lower the flag at Buckingham Palace. Elizabeth later addressed the nation on television, which helped ease public anger. The intense media attention during these years increased, with tabloids often publishing sensational stories about the royal family. Despite this, Elizabeth continued to fulfill her duties with dignity and remained a respected figure in Britain and the Commonwealth. These turbulent years tested the monarchy, but Elizabeth's steady leadership helped guide the royal family through a difficult period. In her later years, Elizabeth II celebrated many important milestones. In 1977, she marked her Silver Jubilee, which celebrated 25 years as Queen. The public held parties and events throughout the Commonwealth to honor her long reign. In 2002, Elizabeth celebrated her Golden Jubilee, marking 50 years on the throne. Although this year was difficult for her personally because her sister and mother passed away, the celebrations went ahead with great enthusiasm. 1 million people attended the main events in London, showing their love and respect for the Queen. In 2012, Elizabeth celebrated her Diamond Jubilee, marking 60 years as Queen. The celebrations included a large river pageant on the River Thames, where thousands of boats took part. The public showed overwhelming support for the Queen, appreciating her dedication and service. Throughout these years, Elizabeth remained active in her duties, attending ceremonies and hosting important guests. She also faced some health challenges, including surgery on her knees and back problems, but she continued her work with determination. Elizabeth's Jubilees were a chance for people across the world to recognize her record-breaking reign and the stability she brought to the monarchy. These celebrations showed how much she was admired and loved by many. Her later years were marked by a deep respect for her role and the many changes she witnessed during her time as Queen. During her long reign, Elizabeth II faced several serious threats to her personal safety. In 1981, just weeks before the wedding of her son Charles and Lady Diana Spencer, 6 shots were fired at the Queen while she rode her horse Burmese down the Mall in London. Thankfully, the bullets were blanks, and Elizabeth remained calm and in control, earning praise for her bravery. A few years later, in 1986, another young man fired a rifle at Elizabeth during a parade in New Zealand, but missed. He was arrested and sentenced for unlawful possession of a firearm. In 1982, an intruder named Michael Fagan managed to enter Buckingham Palace and reach the Queen's bedroom. The incident revealed security lapses as help arrived, only after multiple calls to the palace police. Despite these dangers, Elizabeth continued to appear in public and fulfill her duties. Her calmness and courage during these events showed her strong character and dedication to her role as monarch. These incidents also led to improved security measures to protect the royal family in the future. Elizabeth's ability to face such threats without fear strengthened the public's respect for her and her commitment to her responsibilities. In August 1997, Diana, Princess of Wales, died in a car crash in Paris. Elizabeth II was at Balmoral Castle with her family when the news came. To protect Diana's sons, Princes William and Harry, Elizabeth and Prince Philip kept them at Balmoral for 5 days, allowing them to grieve in private. However, the royal family's silence and the decision not to lower the flag at Buckingham Palace upset many people in the United Kingdom. Public anger grew, with many feeling the monarchy was too distant and uncaring during a time of national mourning. Under pressure from the public and the media, Elizabeth returned to London and gave a live television address on the 5th of September. In this speech, she expressed her admiration for Diana and shared her feelings as a grandmother for the 2 young princes. Her heartfelt message helped ease much of the public's anger and brought the nation together during a very difficult time. The death of Diana was a turning point for the royal family, leading to increased openness and changes in how they interacted with the public. Elizabeth's response showed her ability to lead with compassion in times of crisis, helping to restore faith in the monarchy. Throughout her reign, Elizabeth II traveled widely, strengthening ties between the United Kingdom and other nations. In 1986, she became the first British monarch to visit the People's Republic of China. Her tour included famous sites like the Great Wall and the Forbidden City, and she joked about the slow postal services of early British emissaries to China. Elizabeth's visits often marked important political moments, such as the acceptance of Hong Kong's return to China in 1997. She also traveled to many Commonwealth countries, supporting unity and cooperation among them. In the 1970s, Elizabeth toured Yugoslavia, becoming the first British monarch to visit a communist country. She faced political challenges during her visits but remained calm and dignified. Her state visits helped maintain good relationships with world leaders, including meetings with multiple United States presidents and popes. Elizabeth's role as a global figure strengthened the British monarchy's influence and the bonds within the Commonwealth. Even in difficult times, such as during political unrest or assassination threats, Elizabeth continued her travels, showing courage and commitment to her duties as queen. Elizabeth II's reign was the longest in British history, lasting over 70 years. During this time, she saw many changes in the world, including the end of the British Empire and the growth of the Commonwealth of Nations. She was queen of more than 30 sovereign states and served under more than 170 prime ministers. Her steady leadership helped the monarchy adapt to changing times. Elizabeth maintained the relevance of the royal family by embracing modernization while respecting tradition. She was widely respected for her dedication, sense of duty, and calm presence during both good times and crises. Elizabeth's influence extended beyond the United Kingdom. As head of the Commonwealth, she worked to unite diverse nations and promote cooperation. Her many state visits and meetings with world leaders helped build diplomatic relationships and foster goodwill. Despite challenges such as family scandals, political changes, and public criticism, Elizabeth remained a symbol of stability. She inspired loyalty and admiration, both in Britain and around the world. Her legacy includes not only her long service, but also the way she modernized the monarchy and strengthened ties across the Commonwealth. Elizabeth II will be remembered as a remarkable figure who shaped the history of the 20th and 21st centuries through her grace, strength, and commitment. Elizabeth II passed away peacefully on the 8th of September, 2022, at Balmoral Castle in Scotland. She was 96 years old. Her death marked the end of a remarkable 70-year reign, the longest of any British monarch. Following her passing, a period of national mourning began across the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. Tributes poured in from leaders and citizens worldwide, honoring her life and dedication to service. Her funeral was held on the 19th of September at St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle. It was a solemn event attended by family members, world leaders, and representatives from across the Commonwealth. Elizabeth was laid to rest beside her beloved husband, Prince Philip, and her father, King George VI. The death of Elizabeth II closed a significant chapter in British and world history. Her leadership, resilience, and commitment to duty left a lasting legacy that will be remembered for generations. What do you think about Elizabeth's life and service? Did her loyalty inspire you, or do you think she sacrificed too much for the crown? Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating historical stories. Thank you very much for watching.